This is the Arturia Mini Brute. It's my first analog synthesizer. I bought it about 5 or 6 years ago. Compared to most modern synths, it's pretty basic. It's completely analog for a start. It's got one oscillator, a sub-oscillator and an LFO. It's got a mixer for the oscillators, a choice of different oscillator types, filter envelope and amp envelope. But like I say, it's pretty basic. There's no LCD screen, there are no presets, and there's no way to save patches. You get these patch cards, so if you want to recall a patch, you have to mark up a blank patch card with all the settings. You can connect the Mini Brute to a computer by USB, but that's simply for playing back MIDI notes or updating the firmware. When I first bought the Mini Brute, I experimented a little bit and played with it, but then I lost interest. It's very time consuming to set up a patch from zero every time. I like to work quickly, and when inspiration hits, I don't want technology to slow me down or get in the way. Virtual instruments seemed like a better option for me. So I put away the Mini Brute, out of sight, and there it stayed for 5 years. Until now. I'm not really sure what made me revisit the Mini Brute, but after a while I realised this is actually a pretty cool synth. The fact that it's basic means that it's great for learning, and it's a great starting point for learning about subtractive synthesis. You don't want to dive in too deep when you're first starting out, so in that sense it's a great little starter synth. The fact that there are limitations is a good thing. Sometimes limitations are good when you're working creatively. It's a good exercise to push those limits. For example, when making these drum sounds, I found out it's pretty hard to make cymbal crash sounds. Hi-hats are fine, but crash sounds are pretty difficult. I did allow myself to use additional processing and effects once I'd generated the initial drum sounds. I got a little bit closer to the sound, but it's still not great. Although it does have a certain charm. One of the happy accidents when making kick drum sounds was to discover that by using the glide control and going from a very high note to a very low note, I could make a much better kick sound. This is because most kick drum sounds start out higher pitch and then change to a lower pitch over time. I didn't know this at the time, so it was just really through experimentation. There's something nice about creating a unique sounding patch that's very hard to recreate by a software synthesizer, for example. So I've created some pretty unique samples using the Mini Brute, and I want to share them with you. Okay, I'm going to give you a short walkthrough of my new Kontakt Instrument MB analog drums. So you get 13 drum sounds, which I've mapped across an octave on the keyboard, starting with the kicks. And then we've got the snares. And then we've got the hi-hats. And lastly, there is the crash. So we've just got a basic interface here with volume and then 2 effects controls. So the first one is a long reverb. And the second one is a shorter ambience or small room reverb. So let's have a listen to analog drums in context. So I've got a synthwave track that I've just put together. So let's have a quick listen. yeah, so let's have a listen to the drums on their own. Then we've got a bass, which is from the UAD Polymax synth. Then we've got a synth pad, which is part of a Kontakt instrument that I'm still developing. Then we've got an arpeggiated synth, which is again from the UAD Polymax synth. Then we've got a synth lead part, which again is a Kontakt instrument which I'm still creating, so more on that soon, but for now let's have a listen. Okay, and then we've just got various noise sweeps and impacts and effects, which were all created using the Mini Brute analog synthesizer. So we'll have another listen to this, and thanks for watching. I've really enjoyed creating these drum sounds using the Mini Brute analog synthesizer, and I'd like to share these with you. I've created a Kontakt instrument, but if you'd rather use the individual samples, I'll also make the WAV files available to you. So if you'd like to head over to my website, which is thehomerecordingstudio.com, you can find the link in the description. Then you can download these samples and get creating with them. Subscribe to the channel so you can stay tuned for future content, and make sure you give me a thumbs up because it really helps the channel and helps my videos show up in the YouTube search. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.